And let me remind you, you need to push the button so the little green light shows up, otherwise your microphone isn't on. Oh, well, the opening statement, but we just need to, first thing to do is to elect the chair and the vice chair. Yeah, well, I don't- I have not heard anything otherwise, and he's been chair for a long time. Nominate? And that person will get to run the meeting, unless Ralph shows up. Yes. Dixie nominated Heidi. Oh, all right, Richard. We need to vote on, we need to vote on that. Okay. Good, you're on. So yes, there are the opening statements down there.
And that, it stays good.
And, the next item on the agenda is meeting minutes.
I'm reading not the public hearing statements though.
Right, not yet. We need to.
All right,
we
did
need
you all
to
get
deal
a
with the
chance to
minutes.
review the minutes? Any comments? Do I have a motion? All in favor? Okay.
Okay, now we're on to the opening statement.
Okay. And the way they were in order on the table.
Oh, not necessarily. Land use file 15 is first.
Okay. Good evening, my name is Heidi Hazel. I am the vice chair, right, for the Stayton Planning Commission, and I will be presiding today over this hearing. This is a time and a place for the public hearing in the matter of land use file 15-1221, an application for the comprehensive plan map amendment and zone map amendment to change the properties at 205 Water Street and 209 Water Street from a comprehensive plan map designation of residential to commercial and a zone change from high-density residential to commercial retail. This hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement to be made in those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.763(5), is printed and available at the back counter. If you have not yet received one of these forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on the statement or objects to not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also on the back counter is the agenda for the evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing. The Planning Commission Rules of Procedures for Land Use and Public Hearings, a brochure written to facilitate your participation in public hearings. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of those documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was sent out in this case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of the body to hear and consider this case. I hear none. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or bias by any members of the body? Okay.
A potential conflict.
Okay.
Madam Chairperson, I drove by the property on both Water and Alder, so
Okay.
just to get an bird's eye view.
Okay. Got anything, Larry? Okay. All right. We're now ready for the staff introduction.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. As in the opening statement, what you've got before you is two applications, one for comprehensive plan map designation change from residential to commercial, the second for a zone map amendment to go along with that. The properties are currently zoned high-density residential, and the applicant is asking for them to be turned to commercial retail. The properties are located on and behind West Water Street, behind the existing Ferris Building Supply retail outlet. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant's representative, and then I'll be back with my staff report. That is the place. This is the time. If the little green light is not on, push the button that says push. Okay.
So you get to state your name and your address. Right? I don't know. All right.
yes.
So, staff introduction, or applicant's presenters, staff report, you're up.
Okay, so I don't really have much to add, only that you've got in your packet all of the application material that Jeff had put together on behalf of the applicant. You've got a copy of an email from the city engineer saying that he doesn't have anything to say. You got a copy of an email from the city's transportation planning consultant, Kittleson and Associates, saying that the applicant's submission of the transportation planning rule analysis looked good. So with that, the staff's recommendation is to not only approve the application, but to really go one step farther, not just change the zoning of these two parcels, but because Ferris Building Supply recently recorded a partition plat that reconfigured the parcel boundaries. If you look at the photo that's on the first page of my staff report, you've got these two parcels outlined in blue, and to the north of the vacant parcel, you see a triangle that one line is blue and the rest of the triangle is purple. So the recommended draft order from staff is to, in addition to change the zoning, the comprehensive plan as requested, and the zoning for these two parcels, also change the zoning for that triangle so that that parcel that's to the north of these parcels is not split by a zone boundary, and to put the entirety of that parcel in the medium density residential zone, because currently the zoning boundary reflects the old parcel line from before the partition plat was recorded last month. So that's all I've got for you.
Dan, that triangle includes part of a house.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I don't know how these things came about, but that house was built so that it is mostly on one tax parcel, and the garage and part of the house was on another lot. It was all in the same ownership. It has been for decades. The house, I think this house was built in the 60s. So on one hand, it was before zoning. Who knows? It may have even been before building permits and anybody paid any attention to things like property lines. But today, as the result of that partition plat being recorded in December, it is on its own lot all by itself and not split by a property line anymore.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So the property to the west, two over, that one looks like it's also landlocked, 248 on the map?
That is correct.
And what is it that? Do they have an easement to access this property from Ferris, or who owns that lot? Are we landlocked?
That lot, one, is not part of this application,
Right?
so is not affected by your actions tonight. Two, it is in common ownership with the property to the north
Okay,
at the corner of North Alder
Oh.
and West Ida.
all right, I feel better about that.
And they're until 6-7 years ago or so, until 6 or 7 years ago, there was an alley
Okay,
that ran through that lot. And in fact, that
little square?
that little house may actually have been in the alley. And at the request of the owners, the alley was vacated when we were vacating a whole bunch of other unused alleys.
Okay,
So, Vice Chair, I guess the only question I have, Dan, is I'm still unclear on why the purple triangle runs through the center of that house
The purple, the purple lines reflect the current zoning boundaries. They follow tax parcel lines at the time they were drawn. So that house at 182 West Ida was built with a property line going through it back 60 years ago. Now, whether the property lines moved around or not, between then and now, I don't know. But as of today, or as of now, 6 weeks ago, when this plat finally got recorded, that lot is now a rectangle that includes, so the house now sits on its own lot. The little shed is on that lot that is shown as a separate tax parcel here. But the tax maps have not yet been updated because that partition plat is still too new.
So it's just the zoning that you're showing in purple,
The
not the
purple
line.
represents the zoning line. It follows what was a property line.
All right, we're clear.
And
Oh.
that property line has disappeared by the recording of that plat in mid-December.
All right, any more questions from the commission? Are there any proponents, anybody in favor of this that would like to speak? Are there any opponents who would like to speak at this time? You like, okay,
There'll be another
Do it.
there's another category of people then.
all right, are there any government agencies? Okay,
We'll get to you.
you're next. Is there any general testimony, people that just want to come up and speak?
That's you.
So you're going to state your name and your address. And you can talk in that mic right there, and hopefully there's a green light on. Okay. It should have a green light on it.
On the base of the microphone, is the green light on? Okay, then you're all set to go.
Yeah, it's on now. Okay, my name is William Harrison. I live at 180 West Ida Street, and I'm here with my wife because we're bored and we're just looking for information and we're curious about the process. However, we are curious about that road because 4 foot of that road is ours, that are, for RV or whatever. We're just concerned about the traffic. Is there going to be traffic coming through there? I mean, how much traffic would be coming through Alder Street?
Right.
Probably none, right?
This parcel that's now vacant
Mm-hmm.
does not have legal access to Alder Street.
Okay. Yeah, we're all for that.
Now,
We're all
that
for
doesn't
that.
answer your question as
Yeah,
to
we're all
whether
for
there
that.
will be
Yeah.
traffic, but there is no legal access.
Just the noise, the traffic, just the general, if you owned a house there, just curiosity more than anything. I didn't think I'd be speaking today. I just wanted to come down and experience the process and be part of the community, right? So, yeah, we're all for Dan and them guys because it's convenient to have that lumber company there, but we're curious about the noise and the taxes and that reflect us, that's all. And we had nothing else to do tonight, so.
Okay. Well, there's questions from the public. So are there any other questions from the public? And we'll
Right.
let the applicant answer.
Okay, so he's already answered my question pretty much, and so is Dan.
Okay.
There's only access from Water Street, so I'm good.
Okay.
So thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks for
And
coming.
congratulations on your new nomination. Both of you.
Good. Okay, any questions from the commission? Okay, applicant summary. You want to come talk some more?
Well, I guess that about sums it up. I don't have a particular summary other than everything you've heard is true and correct. And I'm, again, happy to answer any questions you may have. And I'll just repeat what Dan already said, is that the property does not have legal access to the north, so traffic will be going down to the south.
Okay.
And also, I guess I'll just reiterate that this is not an expansion of the retail store. The use of the property will be as a warehouse, so there won't be customer traffic coming in and out. So.
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Staff summary?
The only thing that I have to add to that is not only will this not be a retail store, but the action before you tonight is only changing the color on the comprehensive plan map and the zoning map, and Frere's Lumber will be back before you at some time in the future with a site plan review application, assuming that the city council approves these applications next month. So there'll be another opportunity for the public to participate. There'll be a set of real plans as to what's proposed as opposed to a conceptual site plan that was included in the application, and another hearing process at that time. The other thing I want to say is mostly for the audience's benefit, not the planning commission's, but the planning commission's role in this proceeding is to make a recommendation to the city council. The city council will hold their own public hearing and is the ultimate decision maker. So again, there'll be another hearing, most likely on February 18th, but the notice hasn't gone out yet, and those things are subject to change. So with that, again, the staff recommendation is approval. The draft order that you have before you is a recommendation to the city council that they approve this, and not just approve this, but as I explained before, also change the zoning for the parcel at 182 West Ida so that it is entirely within the medium density zone.
Okay, so at this time, we close the hearing, and commission deliberates. Anything more to say? Okay, so I would entertain a motion. Yeah, I got it in there.
So I move that we recommend forwarding the application number 15-12/21 to the city council for approval. Is that what we did?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're welcome to come back, once a month. We're here.
And you have a,
We would love to do that.
Madam Vice Chair, you have a closing statement to read.
I do. Is it here? Here we go. That page. The commission will forward the commission's, missing a word, decision will be forwarded to the Stayton City Council, who will schedule their own public hearing prior to rendering a decision on these applications.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. Good evening, my name is Heidi Hazel. I'm the Vice Chair for the Stayton Planning Commission, and I will be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set forth for the public hearing in the matter of Land Use File 16-1221, an application for site plan review to develop the property at 1319 West Washington Street. The hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement to be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197-7635, is printed and available at the back counter. If you have not yet received one of these forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on this statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also on the back counter is the agenda for the evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing, the Planning Commission's rules and procedures for land use public hearings, and a brochure written to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was sent in this case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case. I hear none. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex parte content or contact or bias by any members of the body.
Madam Chairperson, I drove by the property, took a look at it.
Okay. We are ready for the staff introduction.
Okay, thank you. Again, as was in the opening statement, this is a public hearing on an application for site plan review. The property is a currently vacant lot on West Washington, across from the, I guess, west entry into the NORPAC cannery, their scale building, and adjacent to the rail line that used to serve the cannery back whenever that was. The trains ran in there. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant's representative, and then I'll be back with my staff report.
Good evening. My name is Mark Ferris. I'm the Planning Director for Project Delivery Group. Our address is 200 Hawthorne Avenue, Salem, Oregon, and I'm here representing the applicant GFP Enterprises tonight. Before we get into our presentation, I think it's really important to point out just exactly what GFP Enterprises is. I don't know if any of you are familiar with their background, but GFP provides firefighting crews, firefighting equipment, and logistics to fight wildfires. And I think that we can all agree how important that is, especially the last couple of summers. And so the idea is to locate a fire staging facility here in Stayton. GFP Enterprises not only fights fires locally, but they also fight fires all over the western states as well as back on the east. And internationally, they provide emergency aid, firefighting remediation, and logistical support for natural disasters as far as the Caribbean and also South America. So they do a lot of work and certainly is something that's very important. Getting into our proposal tonight, this is just a vicinity map that shows exactly where it is, basically adjacent to West Washington Street. Let's see if we can get this here. And again, the site itself is 0.5 acres. This is the Polk County tax map. When you look at the site itself and the existing conditions, it's fairly flat. There are a few trees on the site right now that are proposed to be removed. Our project arborist has had a chance to take a look at the site itself, and none of these trees have been discovered to be worth saving. And so on our site plan, we show these trees being removed, at least the ones that are indicated in red on our site plan. Let's see here. See if we can give you just a little quick sketch of just what's going on there. You can see there's quite a row of cedars in the back and then various scrub trees throughout the site itself. But that'll give you a general idea of the character. I wanted to go back here if I could just briefly. One more time here. Okay. It should also be noted that in terms of just the surrounding zoning, light industrial on the west, light industrial on the south across Washington Street, light industrial on the north, and general commercial on the west side, or east side, I should say. These are railroad tracks here. This is our preliminary site plan. Again, our proposal for this facility is going to be phased. Initially, what our client would like to do is construct enough of the improvements in order to locate a temporary facility on site and then come back in a year or two and build both a two-story office and a 3,600 square foot shop. We provided for parking and ADA access to the office building. You'll notice also a connection between the sidewalk along West Washington Street provides a continuous connection over to the shop building. We're showing 2 bicycle parking spaces here, and then a gravel storage area that's located in front of the shop. As we get into this here, there are 2 what we call infiltration facilities that we're providing to accommodate stormwater. But this is our site plan, and we are required to construct a 6-foot sidewalk along Washington Street, and then also install street trees. We've set back the gate to the development so that it can accommodate cars and a trailer pulling into the site. Let's see here. That's just about it for the site plan. Just in terms of preliminary engineering, again, what we've talked about is handling the stormwater with infiltration facilities. The site itself drains fairly well. I know that there have been some concerns over high groundwater tables, but our geologist has taken a look at this and does not see any issues there. We're providing landscaping so that we can provide a visual buffer on all 4 sides of the development. Just basically shows the types of plant materials, which are trees and shrubs and grass, and pretty typical of what you would normally see on a development of this site. In terms of the proposed buildings, this is just a preliminary rendition of the proposed office building. It's 2 stories and fairly nondescript, but this will give you an idea what we're looking at, and I can answer questions on this in a minute. And then this is the proposed shop concept. Again, has 2 stories and then room basically for meeting and for maintenance of equipment. So we get to the conditions of approval, and I think it's important to point out that staff has recommended approval. However, there are some conditions that I'd like to just bring up and discuss with you right now. One of the conditions has to do with street trees. And as a landscape architect with 46 years of experience, and also upon recommendation of our project arborist, we'd like to propose to the city engineer and to the city using what we call, this would be a Persian ironwood tree. The tree itself is, I don't know if you could see that or not. Here, let's go over here. Here we go. Is a small upright tree, very similar to many of the others. This particular tree grows from basically 10 to about 25 feet tall. It's compact, it grows well in the type of soils that you have here in Stayton, and it's very low maintenance. And I know that was one of the concerns that the city had, was just basically the care and maintenance of the street trees adjoining our development. So part of our request tonight is asking the city engineer to approve our selection of this particular street tree. I think it would serve you well, and certainly a good selection. So we get out of here. Houston, we have a problem. There we go. Dan, it's not letting me cycle through here. There we go. Let's try this. Well, we can go back. Okay, let's try that one more time. There we go. The second condition talks about the maintenance of street trees too. And said that our landscape plan did not include any information about trimming trees after they've been planted. And so as part of this, our landscape plan will be modified to address the care and maintenance of the street trees and also the facility itself. Your computer doesn't like me. There we go. Third condition has to do with the type of fence that we propose for our development. And in talking with our client, their proposal is a 6-foot cyclone fence, fairly typical, with a barbed wire topper. Again, security for this facility is very important. And so we'd like to basically propose that as the fencing for our facility. In keeping and also along with the landscape buffers, this meets the city requirement. Better talk nice to this. Okay. Drum roll, please. Let's try that. You know, Dan, I keep getting little.
Going back instead of forward.
Yeah. Well, let's try this again. Keep getting this little dialogue box here. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, that'll work. I'm gonna go back one here. Okay, so we talked about the chain link fence again that we're proposing. And that pretty well describes our proposal tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
So I have a couple. So your infiltration system
Yes,
that you're putting in, and you state stormwater. Now, you have AC parking on the back side of that. So
yes.
are you talking about impervious surface for surface water runoff?
Right,
All
right.
right. Not
Yeah,
just stormwater, but anything that runs off that impervious surface
That's correct,
is treated
yes.
through some natural infiltration system.
that's correct, yes.
Very good. And the trees that we're proposing for the treescape, I'm assuming those are a deep-rooted tree, not a shallow-rooted tree, because you're building new sidewalk down there and everything.
Oh, yeah.
To keep that in good shape.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if you plant those along with some sort of root barrier, that shouldn't be a problem. What's nice about that is that the parking strip is fairly substantial. So again, I don't think there'd be any problems with tree roots there.
So the only question I have is around a 6-foot chain link fence. I understand that's minimum requirement, but I think of a lot of the kids that they're 6 feet tall and we put concertina or barbed wire around the top of that. Are we asking for any trouble?
So Larry, we're actually going to,
We're not gonna do that?
we're gonna let staff do their report, and
Okay.
then we get to ask
Oh, we
questions.
get asked questions there? Okay, well, I'm new.
Yeah, so staff, you want to give your report?
If you're done.
Sure.
So Mark pretty much gave my staff report because he's already gone through the recommended conditions of approval. Pretty much, I've gone through the application. With the exception of a couple of items, it appears to meet our code. And all of those exceptions are relatively minor and can be easily addressed through these conditions of approval. Just revise the plan or give us this detail, or get the Public Works Director to sign off on the street tree you want, or come up with a different tree if they're not willing to. So the issues that I have noticed are street trees are not a species that's on the city's list of acceptable trees. There was not the detail in the landscape plan that the lower branches will be trimmed back when they're planted, et cetera. The lack of detail about the fence that's now been explained. And the fourth item was that the site plan itself didn't say anything about where a dumpster was going to be stored, and that's the euphemism our code uses for an outdoor service area. Was not designated. That's since been clarified in correspondence that they do not intend to have an outdoor service area. So again, the condition of approval was either show one or say that you're not going to have one, and they have done that. So the conditions of approval are the standard. This is a preliminary plan. Come back to the Public Works Department with final engineered drawings for sewer, water, stormwater, street improvements, an erosion and sedimentation control plan, and the other issue, there was mention in the application narrative about a public utility easement along the front of the property. This is a parcel in I think it was late 90s partitioning. That partition plat doesn't show a public utility easement along West Washington Street, so there is a condition of approval, either dedicate one or show us that one exists already that we just don't have a record of in the files. Finally, the last condition of approval, if you read through the transportation assessment letter, the engineer that provided that made a recommendation just to make sure that signage and landscaping, et cetera, don't block the site view from the driveway entrance. So there is a fifth condition of approval that prior to occupancy that the site distance be verified, documented by an engineer that meets the minimum standard of the code. And again, those are all things that can easily be addressed just by submitting the details, some of which already have been, but after this was prepared. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve it with those conditions of approval as have been outlined.
Okay, Larry, now you can ask questions. Very good. Any other questions?
Well, on a daily basis, there'll be a few employees there that man the office. They will use the office and shop facilities for training and seminars in terms of educating and instructing their employees in terms of just how to go about fighting fires. And daily operations would include maintenance of their equipment, but that would be within the shop. Again, as Dan pointed out, there's no actual service area outside, so everything would be inside. There wouldn't be any issues with noise or odors or anything. So just be pretty much just the management of their operation and the logistics of running things down here in Stayton.
Okay. Is there any proponents that would like to testify? People that are for the project? Any opponents? Do you want to talk? Okay.
Well, we were talking for a couple of years about having some kind of training outfit for teaching people how to do fires. We helped the lady up there with the King store. We were talking about doing that instead.
Yeah.
Instead of teaching kids to be fearful of fire, teaching how to combat it. I think that's a great idea.
All right, any government agencies? General testimony, which we just heard. Questions from the public? Questions from the commission?
What is a fire staging facility? I have pictures of fire trucks and water tanks parked along parked along Washington Street, waiting to be dispatched. Is that what happens?
No, you won't see any fire trucks or any equipment like that out there. I think that there has been discussion about staging maybe over by the NORPAC facility when that's necessary. But as far as actually seeing fire trucks and stuff at this facility, I think that'd be pretty rare.
Thank you.
Okay, applicant summary, anything
Well,
more?
All right. So up on the board, I have a summary here, and I'd just like to go through our bullets here. Our proposed development is a permitted use. All adequate utilities exist to serve the site. We feel that we've met all the development code and standards, design standards. The applicant is committed to maintain the facilities and the landscaping and the street trees. And we are in agreement with the proposed conditions of approval as outlined tonight, and we just would like to respectfully request your approval of our application. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we'll close the hearing, and the commission can deliberate. More to say? All right, so then I'll entertain a motion.
I move the Stayton Planning Commission approve the application of GF Pre-Enterprises LLC, land use file number 16-12/21, and adopt a draft order presented by staff.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, closing statements.
Thank you.
The commission's decision may be appealed to the Stayton City Council within 14 days of mailing of the notice of decision in accordance with section 17.12.110 of the Stayton Municipality Code. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Thank you. So we got other stuff on our agenda too?
The other business I have is, it's been a few years, I think at least 3, since we've done a general land use training session. The main reason well, 2 reasons we haven't done it. One is there's this little pandemic going on. Secondly, we haven't had any new members until tonight. So with Larry joining us, and actually with some new, 1 or 2 new council, 1 or 2 people who have joined the city council since the last time we've done it, I was thinking this spring would be a good time to do that if you're interested. At this point in time, I'm not expecting any applications for your February meeting. I mean, we still have 4 days. Somebody could walk in with something, but I haven't had contact with anybody, so I'm not expecting to get something this week. So with that, I'd say we might as well just do it on the 20, whatever I'd have to look at a calendar, but I think it's the 28th of February is our next meeting. And in the past, what we've done is I've sent out an invitation to planning commissions of some neighboring towns and invited them. And so we can continue to do that. And we can just do it right here. If we don't have another, if we don't have a hearing or other business to conduct. Is that, okay, great. We can, well, if you have other business to conduct, then yes, then let's adjourn the meeting and let me stop the live stream and Zoom and stop recording. Then I can give you honest answers once we're not recording.
Record.